Welcome back. If you missed last month, I hope you were able to watch the recording and hear all the amazing stories of how DCCR has changed the lives of PWS patients and families. If you haven't had that opportunity, please send us an email and we can send you the link to watch. We will make sure that our email address is included in the chat for easy access for you to reach out to us. For everybody that is new, welcome. We hope that you are able to learn about DCCR today and hear from our PWS community on how DCCR has helped to address such an unmet need for our loved ones. We wanted to have this second town hall because we really underestimated the desire of our community to share their voice regarding DCCR. Our first town hall was so popular that we ran out of time, and unfortunately, not everybody who had signed up to speak had the opportunity. This afternoon is a continuation from where we left off last month. This is an opportunity to give families a platform to share their stories so that Soleno, the FDA, organizations, the community, they can all understand our experiences living with PWS and the impact of DCCR on that experience. Today is an opportunity for all who want to have a few minutes to share their collected stories so that the decision makers can hear them. We want everyone to know that they are important and that their opinions matter. Their voices matter. Before we get started, we'd like to go over just some basic guidelines. We ask that you please keep your microphones on mute. We want to make sure that we are all being respectful to our speakers and allowing everybody an opportunity to be heard. We also want to encourage everyone to speak out and share today, but we ask that it's done in a respectful and honest way. Like our first town hall, we don't want to point fingers, create any negativity, or cause disruption to the drug development process. We ask that all comments be respectful and limited to around 2 minutes. We ask that you please try to monitor your time. And if you would like to add your name to our list of speakers during the open portion of this town hall, please put your name in the chat and we will make sure to get you added. We have a representative from Soleno joining us today, but she is not able to answer any questions. Today is about sharing. There will be absolutely no questions, no answers, none. If you have any, please email us any of those questions, and we will do our best to get an answer and to get back to you. Again, we'll have our email address in the chat, and you can reach out to us that way. We are recording this town hall, and we do have plans to make it public in the future like we did our first town hall. This is a public town hall, after all, even though it is a virtual platform. We did not restrict access to this town hall. It is open to all. So in addition to our PWS community and families, there may be other clinicians, legislators, media, the general community joining us today. So we do ask that you are mindful of this when you share your story and don't share anything that you're not comfortable with others hearing. So our agenda for this afternoon is going to just include some brief introductions and then some general information about DCCR from the always amazing and wonderful Dr. Jennifer Miller. I don't think there's a clinician out there that is more dedicated to their community than she is. Next, we are honored to have two families who participated in the DCCR trial, and they are going to share their experiences on DCCR in an interview with Dr. Miller. Following them, we're going to have the open forum portion of the town hall. We're going to begin with the speakers who have registered ahead of time to speak. When we call your name, we're going to ask that you are unmuted and that you limit your remarks to no longer than 2 minutes. We hope to not have to, but we will mute lines so that the next person has a chance to have an opportunity to share if you go beyond your 2 minutes. We want to make sure that we have time to allow everyone who wants to speak an opportunity. We will wait a moment after calling your name to allow you to unmute yourself, but we will move on if it appears that you are no longer able to speak. If time permits, we will then turn to the chat and call on the names of the people who submitted their names there. And then finally, we're going to just wrap up with a brief how to contact us and kind of what our plans are moving forward. It is going to be an exciting afternoon, and we look forward to hearing why the approval of DCCR is so important to the individuals in the PWS community. So to get started, like I said earlier, my name is Maggie Sinise. I'm a mom to 6 kids, and my youngest, Bridget, has Prader-Willi syndrome. Bridget does not yet have hyperphagia, but I know that that day is going to come. It's a fear of mine. No parent wants to know that their child is living in a constant state of hunger, the kind of hunger that can keep them from leading a normal childhood, the kind of hunger that takes over their brain and creates an anxiety about food, meal times, schedules, and everything else. I truly believe that if we can tackle the hyperphagia, the hunger part of PWS, then so many of the behaviors, anxiety, and other challenging aspects of PWS can become manageable too. When Bridget was born, her future was painted as loneliness and isolation. Instead of believing that, we chose to have hope. We found out that there was a treatment that was in clinical trials. That was DCCR. And we were so hopeful that this would be the answer to Bridget's future. Maybe there could be a world where hyperphagia doesn't take her away from us, a world where she's not consumed by anxiety or exhibiting detrimental behaviors, but rather a world where she can live as a thriving, happy, productive member of society. That is why I'm so passionate about DCCR. That is why it is so important to me, to Bridget, to those on DCCR, to those who need DCCR now, and those who need DCCR in the future, to have DCCR made available to anyone with PWS who wants it. Every day there is wonder. Every day, can't talk. Every day there is that wonder. Is today going to be the day that hyperphagia is going to start? That stress and anxiety can tear any parent apart. But knowing that there's a treatment that is safe and effective gives me hope. Hope that my daughter won't have to experience one of the most debilitating aspects of Prader-Willi syndrome. While I have the hope that DCCR will be available when the time comes that Bridget needs it, it's important to make sure that we make it available to those who need it now. While I rocked Bridget in the NICU, I made a promise to her that I would do everything within my power to give her a life where she could live life full. We need DCCR now. I knew I had to do everything I could to make sure that DCCR was available to the PWS community. And that is why I became an advocate. I knew I needed to use my voice to help her, and I wanted to give a platform for others to do the same. I believe that everyone has a voice, and everyone should be entitled to use that voice. I am excited to hear from all of our speakers today and hear how they use their voice to share why the approval of DCCR is so important to them. Now, I would like to introduce one of the hardest working moms I know. She never gives up and will fight like no other to help advocate for her child. Katie and I teamed up at the very beginning of this advocacy process, and I'm just amazed at all that she's able to do. So without further ado, I present Katie Maru.
Thank you, Maggie. I, much like Maggie, am like fighting for this tooth and nail and won't give up. As many of you probably know, I am mom to 5 kids. Cade is my second. He is 6 years old. He is not in hyperphagia right now, but I do know that one day it'll be there, and it scares me, and the anxiety scares me. Sometimes I see little anxiety and OCD behaviors from him, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the start of it, but it's not. Then the next day goes on and he's fine. I'm really fighting, not only for Cade, not only for Bridget, but for all of your kids. There are many kids, adults that could benefit from this drug. And I wholeheartedly believe this drug needs to be ready and available right here and right now for everyone. I cannot talk as long as Maggie. So what I would like to do is now I would love to introduce to you this wonderful woman who is co-founder and CEO of a digital health analytics company, Trend. She started it together with her husband, Chris. She is mom to 3 wonderful children. Her oldest is Taya, who, like Bridget and Cade, was born with Prader-Willi syndrome. Please welcome Maria.
Sorry, had to unmute. Thank you, Katie. Thank you, Maggie. Hi, everyone. As Katie said, my name is Maria Piccone, and I have an 8-year-old daughter, Taya, who has Prader-Willi syndrome. And my husband, Chris, and I, we started Trend after Taya was born in hopes that we could use technology to turn our community's conversations, so our voices on social media, into data that might inspire and accelerate research. Our work has led to interactions with many, many stakeholders at FDA, and I've gained an appreciation for just how powerful our collective voices can be. Through these town halls, we are sending the message loud and clear that we will not give up until our kids can live their best lives possible. I want to also thank Kristen Yen from Soleno for joining us. Kristen is the Vice President of Clinical Operations, and she's joined us today to hear our stories and to show her support for Soleno. I'm sorry, Soleno support for our community. Up next is Paige Rivard. I don't think Paige really needs an introduction to this crowd. As you all know, she's the Chief Executive Officer of PWSA USA, and she's also a fearless mom to a young man with Prader-Willi syndrome. Paige is a leader and a connector who works tirelessly on behalf of our community. Thank you, Paige. You're muted, Paige.
Sorry about that. Now I'm unmuted. Thank you, Maria. As she said, I'm Paige Rivard, CEO of PWSA. And as I said in the last town hall, most importantly, I'm the mom to Jake, who just turned 11 on Monday. So I actually have 2 kids, but Jake is my youngest with PWS. It's so great to see so many people joining. I keep watching the numbers pop up. So it's great to see everybody here. The passion and energy of our community is amazing. And we're all in this together and working towards the same outcomes, a better life for our loved ones with PWS. Also, as I mentioned in the last town hall, PWSA has worked closely with FPWR on several joint advocacy efforts around DCCR. So I wanted to give a really quick recap for those of you who may not have heard last time. On March 3rd, we sent our first letter to the FDA sharing recent findings regarding the impact of COVID-19 on PWS individuals and families. On March 10th, we distributed a community sign-on survey asking everyone to sign on to a joint letter asking the FDA to reconsider their decision on DCCR. On April 7th, we sent a second letter to the FDA asking them to reconsider their decision. This letter was over 100 pages, and it included the names and every quote of each individual who submitted something. Additionally, on April 7th, we held a webinar discussing the drug development, the FDA process, and the role of the PWS community. Again, this is an exciting time with several clinical trials in process. We will continue to collaborate on an organizational level and with all the members in the PWS community. We are also committed to bringing the voice of the patient forward to FDA for DCCR and all other drugs that will follow. Now I have the honor of introducing our next speaker, who really doesn't need any introduction, Dr. Jennifer Miller. As we all know, Dr. Miller is an amazing advocate. She is an endocrinologist and expert in PWS. Dr. Miller is passionate about our families and our loved ones with PWS. She works tirelessly both in the clinical and research setting to bring hope to so many. Dr. Miller, I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. That was a wonderful introduction.
Is that better? No.
Very sweet. Thank you all for inviting me again to speak at this important town hall meeting. I think these are so important to make sure that everyone understands that their voices are heard. And we know that the voices of our families are of critical importance for every drug that's coming down the pike and for drug development in general. I do want to take just a minute to address something that I have heard from several parents and been asked from several parents over the past few weeks since the last town hall. And that is that DCCR is not available for anyone to take or get. It is not available on the dark web. It is not available for endocrinologists to prescribe. It's just not. It's a new drug and it has to be FDA approved before it can be available for anyone to take. And I understand that you all were very excited to hear about the effects of this drug from the last town hall, and it really is exciting information, and it's been great to see as one of the investigators on the study. But again, it has to be FDA approved first before we can get it. So, you know, I do also want to address the fact that I know that there's been some chatter that there is another drug called diazoxide, which was sort of the parent molecule of DCCR, that maybe people think that they could get their endocrinologist to prescribe for their child and maybe it would have the same effects as DCCR. And that is absolutely not correct. And I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that diazoxide is not DCCR. Diazoxide is a medicine that has been used for many, many years in endocrinology for infantile hyperinsulinism. And that's, of course, a very, very different condition. As an endocrinologist, I've used diazoxide for many years for infantile hyperinsulinism, and I've never used it in Prader-Willi syndrome, nor would I be comfortable using it in Prader-Willi syndrome unless there was trials like there were for DCCR. DCCR was actually developed to overcome some of the problems associated with diazoxide and allow for more stable absorption and more stable blood levels of the medication. As you all know, individuals with Prader-Willi are very different in many ways than other individuals, and I wouldn't want to mess around with an untrialed medication in these individuals when the risk for side effects of any medication are significantly higher than other individuals. So I apologize for that little diatribe. I just wanted to make sure that everyone understands that. And I would now like to turn it over to Lindsay, who is going to tell us about her son Lane's effects from DCCR on the trial. Lindsay?
Hi, thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? I'm in my car. Am I good? Okay. Well, thank you for allowing me this opportunity. I put together a little speech just to make it more straightforward. So, when Lane was born with a diagnosis of Prader-Willi syndrome, we were crushed simply because we knew our son was going to have more challenges than most. We did everything we thought was right. We fed Lane healthy food, we kept Lane active, Lane saw many therapists, and he saw many specialists. We were on top of it. I specifically remember thinking to myself many times that maybe, just maybe, PWS isn't going to hit us. Maybe Lane won't feel that intense hunger. Maybe Lane won't have those terrifying meltdowns and tantrums. Maybe Lane won't physically attack me. Maybe Lane won't forage through the garbage looking for food. Maybe Lane won't be so nervous and filled with anxiety that he will eat inedible things. Maybe Lane won't eat his pet's food, and maybe I won't fear my son. Well, PWS hit us, and boy, did it hit us hard. Those maybes turned into our new normal. It was like one day, here we are, the world is spinning, Lane's world is spinning, and it's spinning out of control. Lane's tantrums and meltdowns were not too often, maybe every 2 weeks, but when they happened, they felt earth-shattering. Lane's obsession over things like change, people, food, specific details, names, stories, fictional characters were consuming. Lane's ability to go from being the happiest kid in the world to an absolute uncontrollable monster in a matter of seconds was devastating. Lane started DCCR in February of 2020 after being on the placebo for 5 months. The changes we have seen in Lane are extraordinary, and I could sit here and talk about them for hours. One example I would like to share is that Lane, who didn't walk until he was almost 4 years old and started school in a wheelchair, is now racing cars competitively. Lane has the endurance, muscle strength, stamina, and focus to drive a car, watch the other cars around him, pay attention to the flagger and what the flags mean, and not lose his cool. Another example is that Lane recently had a school project where he was told he could choose to use Legos or Peeps candy. I gave Lane the choice and also reminded him that touching and smelling the Peeps may make him upset. Let's just say that Lane chose to use the Peeps and he handled it like a rock star with no issues, no tears, no problems at all. The DCCR pill that Lane takes every day isn't just a pill or a drug. It's a little dose of hope. Hope not that our kids will overcome all the challenges they face, but hope that maybe they'll feel a little more happiness and maybe they will feel less stress and less anxiety. And hope that as parents, the burden on our hearts and on our minds will be less. Hope to stop living in the fear of the unpredictability of PWS. DCCR is life-changing. It has changed Lane's life, my life, and the lives of everyone in our family. And it would be devastating on so many levels to no longer have access to this little pill of hope. So thank you, Dr. Miller and your team. Thank you, Katie and Maggie, for your efforts, and Seleno, and thank you for allowing me to share my story.
Thank you for sharing your story, Lindsay. It was beautifully said. And you know, I know that being in a clinical trial is hard. And so I just want to say thank you for doing the trial. I know that it's been tough to get to your site and get everything done with everything going on in your life and in the world. But I'm so glad he was able to participate and that he's done so well. So thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Thank you.
And now I'm going to step in for Maggie and introduce Jamie Cox and her daughter Zoe, who has some awesome hair going on right now, and to let her tell her story.
Hi, I'm Jamie Cox. This is Zoe. Can you say hi?
Hello.
Zoe started DCCR in August of 2019. We actually traveled from Kansas City to Gainesville to see Dr. Miller to be able to take part in the trial. Do you like doing that? Yeah. Before DCCR, let's see, Zoe hit the hyperphagia stage about 2 years ago. So we did have struggles with food seeking. And Zoe had really high anxiety. That was that our biggest struggle before DCCR? Yeah. But that has also probably been the biggest blessing for us with DCCR. Since Zoe started it, she's had a major reduction in anxiety. And along with the reduction in anxiety, her focus has been able to improve in other areas. She's been able to focus on her schoolwork. She can focus on social activities with her friends without it always being revolved around food. She will get up on the weekends now and she'll play in her room or play with her brothers or watch cartoons for a couple of hours before she's even asking us for breakfast instead of being straight out of bed like she used to. We don't have the constant questions about when the next meal is or when the next snack will be or what those meals or snacks will be. We do still have some challenges sometimes if food is left out on the table or counters from her brothers, but we are no longer having to lock the refrigerator or the pantry. She's not food seeking and trying to sneak that while we are not giving her our undivided attention. She's now happy with the food that she gets and does not have a meltdown if she asks for more and we have to tell her no. Along with that, her activity levels have increased. She played basketball for the first time this year, right? Did you love that? Yeah. And she was able to keep pace with her peers. She's also actively involved in dance and choir. She's done this previously, but this was the first year that she wasn't wearing out and having to sit down halfway through the class. Before DCCR, changes in Zoe's routine or structure used to send her into full meltdowns. Those changes in her routines and schedule are now non-issues. She rolls with it really well and with a smile on her face.
And I was not Scooby-Doo.
And she loves Scooby-Doo. And Zoe has not tried once to sneak food from peers or off the table at all in the school cafeteria during lunch this year. Do you have anything you want to say? No?
So Jamie, I actually want to thank you for making that point about the activity level, because that was one thing that to me was an unexpected benefit from DCCR that we saw, which was that, you know, it increased muscle mass and decreased fat mass. And it really has made a huge difference for a lot of the kids in terms of their activity levels and what they're able to physically do. So, so that's great to hear. And Zoe, I love seeing you in Gainesville, so that makes me happy. All right, Maggie.
All right, there we go. All right, thank you so much to both Jamie and Zoe for sharing your stories there and your experiences with DCCR. We love hearing all the wonderful experiences that you had. Now we are going to go into the open forum portion of our town. Oh, my watch is going off. Now we're going to go to our open forum portion of our town hall. We're going to be beginning with the speakers who had previously registered to speak. If you want to sign up to speak, you still absolutely can. Just type your name into the chat box and send it to us, and we will get you added to the end of the list. Just a reminder, when we call your name, please unmute yourself and limit your remarks to just no longer than 2 minutes. We want to make sure that we have everybody, giving everybody the time and opportunity to speak. We are going to wait just a moment to make sure that you can unmute yourself and that you're there, but we will move on if it appears that you're not. And if time permits, we will then go to the chat. So to begin, we have Maureen Fisk. Are you there, Maureen?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
I don't know if you can see me. I don't have access to turning on my camera for some reason. I'm on my phone. But regardless, I did not listen to the first town hall, and I kind of was going to listen, but I said, you know what? I have my own experience and I don't want to be tainted by other people's experience. With that being said, my son Jacob he'll be 16 next week on the 25th. We've had many challenges with Jacob over the years, and we have seen a lot of improvement with the DCCR study in anxiety. I have to say that's the number one, because Jacob has, and probably because seems to be older than some of the children that, the 10-year-olds, we've had more years of a lot of meltdowns, and his meltdowns would be throwing himself on the ground for 45 minutes, crying, wailing, and it could be over nothing, and you just never know what to expect sometimes. But since the study, Jacob's reasoning and anxiety has significantly decreased. I know Dr. Miller has, seen him and we've talked to him, but there's just been a lot of positive changes that have occurred. Would he still food seek? Possibly. We still lock up because I don't want to give him that, open opportunity right now. But he's very good about saying, if something's out, I'm tempted, can you put that away? He's also in the past 6 months, or actually he had scoliosis surgery in August, and since then we took him off his Risperdal. And the school, when we started back in January, was very adamant that he needed this pill. Now, he was sleeping and we hadn't given it to him since August, and we're like, you know what, we really need to try to see how he does without it. And I think the school has been completely amazed on the fact that he isn't sleeping anymore, and he doesn't, need it to help with anxiety, because I think the study product is working in a lot of that cases. Fortunately, we did meet Dr. Miller when Jacob was just, I think 7 weeks old. And so we've always been monitored as far as food intake. So he never had excessive weight gain because he's always been restricted on his food. But we do truly believe this should be an option for children or young adults or whoever. The approval should be there for as an option for Prader-Willi, because it's something that is life-changing. I don't know if you guys can even see me, but I can't see anybody, and
we cannot see you, Maureen, but that's okay. We love your voice. So, and I remember,
you can share.
Yes, I remember the moment that I knew when Jacob was on DCCR in the first part of the study, when someone, another person with Prader-Willi, said to me that they were at camp with him and he was just a delight, and he didn't have meltdowns and he didn't steal food. And I was like, Jacob didn't have meltdowns at camp when he wasn't on schedule? And she said, no, he was just amazing. And I just remember thinking, I know he's on drugs, and it's just gotten better from there, and I think, the biggest thing about coming off that Risperdal is not just the tiredness, but it really shows that he doesn't have as much behaviors anymore. That was really more for behaviors than anything else. Yeah, it's huge. It is huge to be able to come off psych meds. So I think that's awesome. All right.
Yes, Maggie, we're very happy.
I was very happy too, because I have known him forever and love him. I can't believe he's 16. That makes me old.
I know. It's crazy.
So. All right. Well, thank you so much.
You can mute me. I don't know.
Thank you so much for that, Maureen. Next up, we have Amy Harris.
Hi there.
Hi, Amy.
Hi, can you all see me? I can't see you.
It doesn't show the view, but we can hear you.
Okay, all right. Well, my name is Amy Harris, and my husband Trey and I live in Atlanta, Georgia, and our son Thomas, he's going to be 4 at the end of July. And I wish that he was here. You could see he's just truly adorable and amazing. Not that I'm biased. With that said, he is in the honeymoon phase of Prader-Willi, in that he doesn't currently suffer from hyperphagia and its effects. With that said, he certainly has a heightened interest in food. and is beginning to exhibit some behaviors like skin picking. So Trey and I are standing at the base of a mountain that our family will climb as Thomas gets older, and we're quite frankly scared, but we are also determined. And tomorrow, speaking of determination, is our very first IEP meeting due to COVID, and I am nervous and overwhelmed, but again, determined. And one of the questions on his eligibility paperwork was, what are your future goals for your child? And I thought, first of all, that was an interesting question to ask. And this is what I wrote. We want what I think all parents want for their children, a truly happy and well-rounded, independent life full of rich, wonderful experiences. We want Thomas to be successful in school. We want Thomas to play sports. We want Thomas to have close friendships and romantic relationships. We want Thomas to learn how to drive a car. We want Thomas to graduate college and find a profession that he's passionate about. We want Thomas to rent an apartment, and we want Thomas
Take him to the movies. I'll take him to the movies.
House. We want Thomas to travel and explore.
Did
We
he
want
act up?
Thomas to have a
Act it up?
family of his own.
Did he act up?
In short, we want Thomas to feel and know that the world is his oyster. We want him to feel and know that he makes such a positive impact on the world that he makes it 1,000,000 times better. So with that in mind, I fight for Thomas, but more immediately, I fight for Lane and Zoe and Jacob, and I fight for the Prader-Willi babies who haven't been born yet. And I want all of those with Prader-Willi to live life full. So thank you to Soleno for your research and development. Thank you to the participants. I'm in all of your stories. Thank you to Dr. Miller for always being our most passionate and loudest supporter. And thank you to Maggie, Katie, Paige, and fellow Prader-Willi parents and the community. We really couldn't navigate this journey without you.
Thank you so much for that, Amy. That was beautiful. Next up, we have Lisa Thornton. There you go. I see you just unmuted. Are you there, Lisa?
I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes. Thank you.
My dad, Kate. So I am Lisa Thornton. I am an attorney and I'm president of the Utah Prader-Willi Association for the last 15 years. And I'm a mom to 5 children. Our Kate is the youngest with Prader-Willi syndrome, and she's going to be 18 in July. Just a few years ago, Kate was attending school full-time in several mainstream classes. She did her homework. She was a student body officer. She had a lead role as a dancer in her school musical Lion King, and she would stay after school, after a full day of school, for 3 to 4 hour practices. She sang in 2 choirs. She was an assistant dance instructor at our university that's close by. She would attend church. She would attend church outings, summer camps, and did lots of fun things with her friends. And we did not need to lock food. And Kate was obviously happy, productive, and vibrant. So a few years ago, things started to change. Her food seeking became voracious. We had to lock everything. Her anxiety around food and life in general just skyrocketed. She cries now and says she has nothing to do until a meal or a snack comes. And once that meal or snack is complete, she starts fretting again about when the next meal will be. So the Kate that we knew and loved, the singing, dancing, joyful Kate, was gone. Now she can't attend school without running away. She participates in no extracurricular activities. We've tried an endless list of medications with no relief. She's riddled with anxiety. She's sad. She's miserable. She yells and cries in frustration several times a day. She's always on the lookout for food. She cuts her clothes. She rips holes in her skin. She dumps out closets and drawers. She demands that one of us be with her constantly. Her siblings have been seriously affected by this, one having been diagnosed with PTSD because of Kate's extreme behaviors and has made 2 suicide attempts. Our family is crumbling under the challenge of this unrelenting syndrome. And her dad and I cry often and wonder how we will make it through one more day. We've reached out to every resource we can, but it is not enough for our family. The DCCR medication is providing a huge relief to many who suffer from the effects of Prader-Willi syndrome, and it has saved many families in the process. I help run our Utah Prader-Willi syndrome medical clinic, and our site was one of those for the DCCR trial, and many families have benefited significantly from this medication. And we ask that everyone please continue your efforts to get us this life-changing medication. We would do anything to get our Kate back. And DCCR is a huge step in that direction. And we give our thanks to Selena and Dr. Miller for your unfailing efforts.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
Lisa, you just made me cry. That was I mean, you know, it's amazing to hear from the families who have been on DCCR, but it's almost more poignant to hear from the families who are waiting for it, you know, like yours. And thank you. We appreciate you getting on and talking. We know it must be so hard to talk about this, but it was very impactful. Thank you.
Thank you.
I echo everything Dr. Miller just said. It's truly, this is why we want to have this platform here for families like you to share. So thank you. Next up, we have Maggie Amakwi. You on, Maggie? All right, I think you might not have, you either had to hop off or wasn't able to make it. How about James Pittman? No. All right. I think I saw Anise Sanchez on here.
Yes, how are you? This is my first time, and I am so glad that I was able to meet you, Maggie, at the Dr. Miller office this week. And thank you so much for making me participate. I think I'm the mother of all of you, because my son is 27 years old. So I've been through, as the speaker before was telling, the experience that we have is Alejandro is 27 years old. I live here in Miami, in Broward County. And since he was born, we've been dealing with all this syndrome, all the food-seeking behavior, waiting for a hope, waiting for something, a miracle medicine that can bring them to a decent life, and as a family to have a better style of life. Alejandro has been through so many. Dr. Miller know him so well. Tantrum seeking behavior, overweight, and being in Pennsylvania for treatments, coming back. I experienced, like he experienced, jail. I experienced suspensions. I experienced the medications that they are not working, tantrums. Is like one of the advocates that I have before, she was telling me, and the way that I have to teach all people that was in contact with Alice, because Prader-Willi was not well known. So they try to make a lot of diagnoses, like depression, like bipolar, like all those that, you know, they give a mark to every child that is Prader-Willi. I've been through suspension and through police departments and through all that. And the only way that I've been able to really teach people, teachers, everybody that is in contact is, imagine like they have a seizure 24 hours 7. You cannot stop that. You cannot stop that. And most people are understanding now what is this syndrome. And every time that Dr. Miller is coming with a new study, I was hoping, I was begging, I want Alice to be involved. I want Alice to try. We tried 2-3 times, but not. But when I see these parents now, these medications, how this is working, it give every family a hope, or standing for our kids, for our sons, standing to have a better style of life, standing to look at their future. We don't gonna be with them all our life. standing to get a better style of life for them, for us, is really bad. Even when we as the parents, he's at home and I have everything locked, but suddenly I become hungry and I can't even get anything in the refrigerator because it's locked, and you suffer and you angry. Imagine them with 24 hours, 7 hungry. So I hope they can bring a new peace, a new lifestyle for these kids. My son is 27. He's in a group home here in Miami, and I would like to have him in my house. I would like him to enjoy like my other kids, my grandkids. I hope that is one of my desires. I was telling last time, Dr. Miller, I was waiting for your call every day, every month, that I want that for my son. So I really, this new family with these new younger kids, let me tell you, keep fighting, keep going. We are 27 years fighting, dealing with all, you can imagine all these situations regarding food seeking behavior, regarding Prader-Willi. So I'm very proud to enjoy, and that's what I said at the first time. It looked like I'm the mother of all of you. I'm 27 years old son with Prader-Willi, but it was really a very good experience, and I hope I can keep joining you guys, and if I can give any of what I've been through to support, I'm here. I believe.
And one of my most strong memories of Alex was a day on the research unit when he beat you up over not getting a dessert that we had promised him when the study was over, and he misunderstood and went after you. And I remember Archie having to sit on top of him and hold him down while he was kicking and screaming. And at the end of it, you all looked at me and Dr. Driscoll and you said, "You guys talk the talk. Now you've walked the walk." And I remember thinking, oh my God, how do you live with this all the time? That if you can't make a promise that you can't absolutely keep, because otherwise it's this kind of reaction. And yeah, they've been in many studies. Alex has been in many studies, and unfortunately they were studies where the drugs did not work like DCCR does. And for my adults, I didn't want to involve them in a study that may end in another failure. So I actually didn't put a lot of the adults in the DCCR study on purpose, because they had been in so many studies already, and I didn't want yet another disappointment. And I kick myself every day for it, because I wish now that you all had been able to experience it, and other adult families had been able to experience it. Alex is in a group home because he couldn't live at home because of his behaviors, because of food, and it just breaks my heart, because he's such an amazing kid, and that smile of his lights up a room, when he's happy.
Yes.
I want him to be happy more. So we're hoping.
It's a pleasure.
Thank you so much for sharing, and it was lovely to meet you earlier this week. Next up, we have Maria Sinclair. You here, Maria? All right, how about Sally Hart? All right, Jessica McCabe, see you there.
Yeah, I'm here.
All right.
Hey, I'm Jessica. And I have a 2-year-old, Julius. He just turned 2, and he has Prader-Willi syndrome. So I'm a mom, I guess a new mom of a baby with Prader-Willi. I'm also a physician. And so I guess I wanted to come at this from the angle of kind of looking at what the risks and benefits are of the medication. Based upon, it looks like everybody's advocacy and everybody's personal experiences, there's a huge amount to be gained from DCCR being approved. the thing that I don't hear is a horrible side effect profile. And it just seems like, sometimes medications are not put on the market because really the risks outweigh the benefits. And that's just not something I've heard with DCCR. And I find that very frustrating to look at a side effect profile that seems like it's very easily controlled, if there's regular physician monitoring, and given the potential gains immediately for adult and teenage patients, and then also all the trials that could be done on younger kids before they even reach the hyperphagia phase, I would just love to be able to see that move forward. Right now we have a beautiful boy who really, he likes food, but he's, certainly we don't deal with all of those issues. And I'm terrified of all the stories that we hear from other people about the impacts on the person with Prader-Willi, and the impacts on siblings and parents and family relationships. And I want to do everything that we can to try to prevent that, to help the people who are struggling now, but also try to prevent the struggle in the future. And so I guess that's what I wanted to say. And so they're very thankful for everybody who's working hard on this. And, we really appreciate everybody who participated in the trial. And so all the new moms are right there with you, trying to get this going as well, so that we can improve everything for the Prader-Willi community.
Thank you so much, Jessica. And I agree, feeling like I'm a new mom still to this as well, with Bridget being so young, that we are all of us new moms are standing here with the community. Next up, we have Mary Howard. Are you on, Mary? All right. How about Rachel Azara? And I'm sorry if I said that incorrectly.
You're fine, Maggie. No worries. Hi, everyone. My name is Rachel Azara. I am the adoptive mother of a wonderful 3-year-old little boy named Michael. And I don't think we were able to see pictures, otherwise I would show pictures of Michael. Michael came into our lives when he was 2 months old, and he's in a very loving, open adoption. His birth parents are from Greece. They're actually MD PhDs. The reason I'm on is I want to talk about how many potential adoptive parents, as well as birth parents, that I end up advocating and talking to about Prader-Willi syndrome, and around the fact that many of them have read about DCCR and are really, really hoping that this drug is approved. As an adoptive parent, and having met with birth parents, Michael's birth parents, as well as other birth parents of babies with PWS, it is incredibly emotional for them to think about what the future is going to be. And even if you talk to them and you show them all the positive things that our PWS kids can do and how wonderful they are, there isn't that drug yet. There isn't that cure. And so in the past 3 years, even though I'm a beginning mom like Maggie and Katie, and just like what was talking about with Maria, I've had the chance to talk to many of the birth parents and the adoptive parents, potential adoptive parents, about when they hear about DCCR, when they've read about what's happening with the DCCR, and they're wanting this drug. They want to make sure that all of their kids have the best life they can have. And so as someone who has a science background, my background's in biochemistry, I cannot emphasize enough that this drug would make it change, not only for all kids that have PWS, the future kids that have PWS, and you've seen the research, you've heard from the families. Let's make it so that all kids and adults have that opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Rachel, and for offering such a unique and different perspective. Next up, we have Valerie Sellinger.
Hi there. I don't know if you guys can see me. Sounds like it's not happening for most people.
Yeah, we're not seeing you, but we can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So my daughter Isla is 4. So also kind of in the newer stage. And I wanted to go back to the day that we got her diagnosis. And this is a story that I've never shared publicly with everybody. And there's a few people on the call that know this, but like Maggie was saying, they had a bad experience with their diagnosis day, and we did too. When the doctor gave us Isla's diagnosis, she went through all of the bad things that could happen. She told us that she would never go to a normal school, we would never travel again, we would have no friends, that our marriage would fall apart. And it was just a really, really bad picture. She said that we had options. We could do that. We could get a G-tube put in, we could come home from the NICU finally and start our miserable life. Or she gave us the option to go without the feeding tube and to come home with hospice and palliative care. And we would have Isla for about 3 weeks. She said that if it was up to her, if she was in our shoes, she would pick the 3 weeks. So it was the worst day of our lives. We didn't know anything. Thankfully, my husband stayed up all night Googling, finding reliable stories out there. He got us in contact with PWSA, and here we are 4 years later. Completely night and day from what we were expecting. But whatever hope we may have had back then was gone. It was killed. And I have replayed that conversation in my head every single day, until I heard DCCR. And it was like everything just turned around. And all of a sudden there was hope, and I knew that things were really going to be okay. So to have this being questioned, that maybe it's not there anymore, it's just really terrifying. And for us personally, it brings us back to that beginning. And you know, we want this for Isla, of course. We want it for all the other kids, the adults, everybody who needs it. But selfishly, I want this for myself. I want my kid to grow up and to have a happy, fulfilling life, that she won't have to worry about the anxiety that comes with Prader-Willi syndrome. And, you know, we need it. My husband needs it. My family needs it. It's not just the individual who has Prader-Willi syndrome. It's all of us, and it affects all of us very, very much. So thanks.
Thank you so much, Valerie. You know, leaves me speechless, but thank you. Now we have concluded the registered speakers, and at this point we're going to go. We've had a couple names submitted into the chat. You can still enter your name if you'd like. If you were a registered speaker and have just hopped on, please feel free to add your name to the chat, and we will add you to the end of the list. But next up we have Julie Dang.
Hi.
Hi, Julie.
Can you guys hear us?
Yes, we can.
I'm so excited to meet you guys. I'm Tiana's mom. Say hi, Tiana. Hello. Tiana is 21 years old and she's thriving. Tiana, actually, it was one of the first Prader-Willi kids at Stanford University in California to be diagnosed at birth. They diagnosed her at 3 days. They did testing. They did 12 tests, and a doctor that just walked by said, throw this test in there, because he had read in a medical journal a few days before that, he only remembered the word hypotonia. He had no idea what the syndrome was, but he's one of the very first doctor to, I guess, was documented to diagnose Prader-Willi at birth. And when Tiana was 11 months old, I found out about a doctor in Boston at Spalding Rehab that was doing experimental growth hormones. Can you tell them to be quiet? Growth hormones for muscle tone disorder, mostly low muscle tone disorder. But I got in line and I traveled every single day. We moved to Boston, and we traveled 45 minutes every day from the suburbs to downtown, and we sat in the office for 4 hours every day, 4 days a week for 7 months before we got approved. And we got on it, and Tiana, after 2 months, was able to walk. I would never change that. It completely changed Tiana's muscle mass. It changed Tiana's life. And again, at that time, it was not FDA approved for Prader-Willi syndrome. And now it is recommended for Prader-Willi syndrome. And I see the smaller kids now, and it's night and day, because Tiana wasn't slim like these kids that I see now that are on, growth hormone right off the bat. Tiana's hands and feet are almost average and normal. They're not small. And I feel that that contributes to the growth hormone. And when I see this DCCR and I've read up on it and things like that, I just feel like this is the next growth hormone for our community. Tiana graduated from a public high school. Never been through special ed at all. She graduated with a general diploma. She is one of the first Prader-Willi kids to graduate from a public high school, actually, and she entered college with a general transcript, which is amazing because we were told when she was diagnosed by the geneticist at 2 weeks old that they don't even make it through middle school, most of them. And here we are 21 years later, and we see so many families with kids that are thriving because of the growth hormone and because of the community that we have. And I've read up on Dr. Miller for many years. Tiana has been thriving up until she turned 21, and a lot of changes happened with the med waiver and all of that other stuff. And we've had a lot of emotional meltdowns since then, but not prior to. So I've been following this DCCR. I don't know if she's a candidate or will be a candidate for it. But like I said, with the growth hormone, at the time she was born was not FDA approved. And now it is readily available for Prader-Willi kids and has made, amazing, you see amazing results. When Tiana was 9, she was diagnosed with scoliosis. So they took her off the growth hormones and she had her full scoliosis surgery when she was 19. Was it 19? And she's doing very well now. The exercising had to stop for a little bit after the surgery, but she had open back surgery and she's diabetic as well.
Julie, unfortunately, we're going to have to stop here. We have another speaker that is signed up to speak. So unfortunately, we're going to have to stop here and move on.
Sure, yes.
But we really appreciate your sharing your story, and we're very grateful that you're joining us today.
Yes, I pray that DCCR will get approved.
Thank you. All right, and we have Jessica Sheldon.
I'm coming, but my kids just got home, so I'll try at the same time. My name's Jessica Sheldon. This is my daughter Vesta. Say hi.
Hi.
She does not have Prader-Willi syndrome, but she is 3. My son Audric is 4, and he does have Prader-Willi syndrome. Thank you guys for everything that you have been doing and do for us every day, all day. I know that I think about hyperphagia every single day. I worry, I'm gonna cry. I worry about my 11-year-old stepson and the effects towards him. I worry about my 3-year-old and the effects towards her. About mine and my husband's relationship when the hyperphagia decides to hit us. I have days where I feel like I see steps hitting our table, whether food's really bad and we have temper outbursts some days. And then some days are really great. And thank you for everything that you guys are doing to help hopefully get this DCCR, because I pray for it every single day that it will be an option for us. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, so much. We really appreciate it. That is the end of our registered speakers. I want to thank everyone for coming. Between this town hall today and our first in April, the community has shown us the need to be heard. This is absolutely amazing, and I'm blown away by each and every one of you. Maggie and I are going to continue to find ways to bring your voices and sharing your stories with FDA. As a community, we continue to work together for advocacy of the unmet needs in the community. We would like to thank our speakers, Soleno for listening, and Dr. Miller for presenting and interviewing each of the speakers. We will continue on working on moving DCCR forward. Both Maggie and I agree that we cannot say this any better than this amazing clinician we know who pours her heart and soul into this community, Dr. Jennifer Miller. When she says, I believe there is hope for everybody in this room and every age person with Prader-Willi syndrome. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, everybody. If you have any questions, you can feel free to email us. All right, we'll put our email in the chat again. And in case you don't have access to the chat, it is pwsadvocates@gmail.com. Thank you and have a great afternoon.